monitor up, swap displays. There we go. Can you just see the normal screen now?
Yes.
All right, cool, brilliant. Because I've got a second monitor up, but that is not for presenter view. That is because at 7:30 UK time, Arsenal are playing. So I want to be teaching you while having that screen there, watching the game. So that's the main reason that it's there. Uh, all right. So the other thing as well, it's just me and my son this week. His mum is in London. So at the moment, I've just got him, even though I don't like doing it, but I said I'm going to be training and I want to train you guys. He's just in there watching TV. So he might, not might, he will come in at some point because this what he's watching will end. So I might have to just quickly just pop and just change the channel. So I'll do that very, very quickly. And the other thing as well, I'm going to try and finish bang on 9 o'clock. Sorry, 8 o'clock today as well. I'm going to try and keep it an hour. So what I want to talk about today is something that I've been playing around with for about 2 months now. What I tend to do is I'll test something, and if it works, I'll tell people. If it doesn't, so it's 3 stages. If it doesn't work, I won't say anything. If it kind of works, I might mention it in the podcast. And if it's working well, I'll teach people how to do it. That's pretty much the stage. So right now, I've been doing this for a while. Actually, I haven't really mentioned this fully in the podcast. I made reference to it, but I'm going to be teaching this. And actually, I was doing a training session with FIFA. So I was training FIFA today. And I was talking about it there. So you guys are going to be the second group to hear this. And it's really based on when I talk about AI. I've mentioned before the Essential Eight. Now, I'm going to assume some of you've heard of it when I talk about the Essential Eight and some of you haven't. So I'm going to repeat it anyway because it's something important to know. When it comes to the large language models, whether you're using ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, whatever one you're going to use, I would say 95% of what we do is one of these 8 things. So your aim when it comes to these 8 things is to get as good as possible for each of these things. So the 8 things are, if you don't know, generating content is number. This is not like number one, the most used. It's just 8 things in any order. One is generating content. How can you use large language models to do anything from writing a Instagram caption all the way to creating an app like we were doing last week or 2 weeks ago, or a feature-length film? Still content at the end of the day. You can use it to analyze. So analyzing, what does this mean? What does that mean? Let me upload it could be my report that I get from social media and really break it down into, well, whenever I'm doing any type of analysis, I basically ask myself 3 questions. What is this? So what? What now? Because data, you could give me a book of data this thick, full of data, but I'm just going to be like, all right, well, what is this? And I'm like, all right, is this okay? So what does this mean? It means this. Okay, great. Makes sense. What are we going to do about it? That essentially is the 3 key things when it comes to data. And you can use it to analyze stuff. Summarizing. This is probably the most popular one, one of the most popular ones. Take this 5 hour Diary of a CEO episode and summarize it to 7 key points or whatever it may be. Or can you take this email and summarize it? Whatever it may be, you're summarizing, you're taking a large piece of content and summarizing it. And again, with that, you can become quite clever on how you summarize. So just summarize these points or summarize it and give me some action points afterwards. And if you go back to week 1, when I was talking about training the model, if it's trained and you summarize it in the way that it knows you, you could say summarize it related to my business. And then you can then do that. So I do that quite a lot with Diary of a CEO. If there's especially a business coach, I will say, all right, with the information here and the fact that you know my business, what are the key things that I should know about? Reformatting, taking one piece of content and putting it into another format. I'm going to take this image here and I'm going to turn it into a video. I'm going to take that text and I'm going to turn it into a audio. I'm going to take this 60-minute video and chop it up into 15, 30-second clips. Idea generation. Use it to come up with ideas. It's Christmas coming up, and I need to come up with 5 ideas that I can tell people about what I'm going to be doing at the Christmas party or something. I'll just random there, but something, just use it for ideas. Now, what I will say is this. I think the large language models are not good at ideas. I think initially, I think it's good once you give it the idea and then you can bounce back and forth with it. But to start with, I don't think that is really good at ideas. Then you've got optimizing. Take this piece of text and optimize it for this particular group of people. Or what I tend to do is with ChatGPT, I click the audio button and I just talk. So I just say anything. And then I'll optimize it so it kind of makes sense. I'll just say, can you optimize this so it makes sense for this particular group of people? So I can just basically say what I'm thinking and it just does the rest for me. Questions. Now, if you've been following this before and you've got notes on this, you might see it say ask questions, asking questions. I've actually changed it to questions, and today I'm going to reveal why. This is, generally speaking, you ask it questions and it gives you answers. And then research and education or educating yourself. What does this mean? How do I do this? Why did this happen? So you're just researching. Tell me more about. So these are the essential 8. Now, you won't be able to Google it and find out more because it's something I just created. I've just named it. But I can't think of any other way you can use ChatGPT. There might be a couple other ones, but I think 95%, if you go back to your last 50 prompts on whether it doesn't matter what large language model, it can be Gemini, it can be Claude, it could be Copilot, it probably fit into one of these buckets, one of these 8. So if that's the case, we need to get good at each of them. But today I'm going to focus, and by the way, I could spend at least half a day on each one. Generating content, I could easily spend 2 or 3 days with idea generation as well. With the others, like analyzing, reformatting, it's pretty straightforward. But generally speaking, I could easily spend on average a day on each one of these. But today, I'm just going to focus on questions. Now, with all of these, it goes back to something I've said multiple times, the black belt system or black belt prompting. Like with martial arts, whether you're doing karate, jiu-jitsu, kung fu, taekwondo, whatever it is, there's a belt system. And it starts off with white belts all the way to black belts. White belt, basic prompts. My mum, I could show her ChatGPT and she could type in a prompt. That's a white belt level prompt because she's never used it before. I see people that's been using ChatGPT for a while still on white belt prompting. And from a martial arts point of view, if you've been doing karate for 2 years, consistently, daily, or at least once or twice a week, and you're still on a white belt level, there's something wrong. So it's the same as prompting. What we want to be able to do is go up the belt system. And at the top, you've got black belts. I say only interested in black belts, but you can obviously get all different types of levels of belts. And sometimes you don't need to go all intricate and all into detail and go for black belts all the time. Sometimes a good white belt prompt is needed, but it's a matter of knowing when. My whole time working in digital and social media, I realized that sometimes knowing when to do something is almost as important, if not sometimes more important, than knowing what to do. I often say to people, imagine you go on a date with someone. It's your first date. It's a really good date. And at the end of that date, that person says, let's get married. You're like, it's a good date, you know what I mean? But it's not like it wasn't that good, because they're asking the wrong question. It's not the wrong thing to say, actually. It's the wrong thing to say then. A better thing to say then is, can I see you again? That's a better thing to say. It's a better question to say. So sometimes it's not a case of what you're doing is wrong or what people are doing is wrong. It's just knowing when to say it. And when you go up the belt system, that's another thing that's important, especially in martial arts. It's just knowing when to select the right combination or the right way to defend yourself. When it comes to prompting, it's the same, knowing when to type in certain types of prompts, but knowing that you've got enough skill set that you can be as complicated or as simple as possible. Example, this is a white belt prompt. Write me a post, Instagram about International Women's Day. Anyone here can do that, and you'll all get different answers because that's what they do. But they will all sound like a robot. It will all sound like ChatGPT wrote it. It will be very generic. Where if you wanted to go for black belt prompt, it's where you go into a lot more detail. Now, why questions matter? Going back to what I was saying, white belt, help me with my marketing. That is, yeah, in a minute. That is, you know what, guys? You're going to meet my son. He's about to walk into this room. 1 second. Dylan, come. We put on one more. Sorry, guys. Literally just 2 minutes. Come and say hello quickly. Come and say hi. Hi. Wave.
Hi.
Hello.
All right. 1 second,
Hi.
guys. We'll put on a film. All right, quickly. Let's go. Quick, 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 quick. You're just gonna watch. You're gonna watch Peter Pan, okay? Yeah. You're gonna watch Peter Pan, okay? Then you haven't got time. Okay. You repeat. All right. Enjoy. Okay. Sorry about that. Right. Okay. So, white belt prompt. Help me with my marketing. Mid belts, because as I said, it's different like belt system. How do I improve my website conversion with no budget? That's a bit more detail, but a better prompt. My conversion dropped by 2% to 0.9% this quarter. What are the top 3 low-cost fixes I can test first? And then give it more context if needed. This is when you start looking at the different levels of how to ask the right questions, because these are still questions that I'm asking, apart from the first one. Well, I guess the first one you could say. AI is a mirror. What you put in, you put out. If you go vague in, you go vague out. And when it comes to questions, there's 3 types of questions you can ask. How questions? How do I create better marketing messages? These are usually step by step. How? And ChatGPT is quite good at giving you steps on how to do it. Then you've got why questions, which is more insights. Why are my email subscribers dropping off after week 3? Once I put out some, I don't know, some auto response sequence. This is insights. This will kind of explain why certain things happen. Then you've got what questions. This is all about clarity. What steps am I missing in creating an AI agent, for example? You want clarity on this one. Now, what I'm saying here, some of you might think, okay, cool, I can understand this. It all makes sense so far. That's what I've been doing. And that's great. But recently, this is what's been happening to me. I've been using questions and I'm just getting angry. And the reason I'm getting angry is because when it comes to asking questions, this is where hallucinations happen. This and research. it got to the point where I was typing in questions, especially how-to questions. 70, 80% of it was wrong. It just kept on getting it wrong and wrong and wrong. And I'm quite a chilled person, but this would make my blood pressure go crazy. Like I would be getting so angry. You don't want to know the type of prompts I was putting into ChatGPT. This time last year, please, thank you. Can you do this? I'm sorry, I don't want to upset you. Now, forget all of that. Now I'm just going in, especially when it was getting it wrong. So I was just getting angry and angry. In fact, I even done a whole episode and it was called ChatGPT We Need to Talk. So this was on November the 17th. And the whole point of this was I was just getting frustrated because it just kept on getting things wrong. And I didn't know why and I didn't know what was happening. I was thinking, is something wrong with it? Like, why all of a sudden has it gone really, really bad? So I was getting really annoyed. I was thinking, I'm too like invested. I couldn't just get rid of it. I don't think I can survive without it now, or any large language model. But it did make me start to think. So I started looking at questions. I was like, what is wrong with my questions? I can't break it down easier, but I still need answers. And I was watching a film. And then when I was watching a film, it reminded me of something that somebody said to me years ago. And that is what makes a good film. If you think about a film, all a film does is answer a series of questions. My favorite film is called The Usual Suspects. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's amazing. I won't tell you what happens because if you've seen it, you'll know why I won't say what happens. But that film, great film, exactly, Miriam. Um, sorry, Ian, can you lose the Fathom icon? Is it gone? The Fathom, is it still there? This Fathom thing. Can you see it?
It's still there.
Yeah, it's still there. There you go. Sorry.
Okay, it's gone now.
Cool. Got it. All right. Um, if you think about this film, like the main question is who is Kaiser Soze? That's the question. If you think about Batman or the Dark Knight, the questions is all about good versus evil and what is morally wrong or ethically wrong and what's for the greater good. Is it worth sacrificing one or two people for the greater good? If you look at the Matrix, what is real? What is not? Do I pick the red pill or the blue pill? Rom-coms as too. They're just answering questions. And we, as the end user, we're asking questions as well when we're watching films. Who is the hero? What do they have to do? What is going to stop them? Who's the villain? What is the inner turmoil that they have to overcome? How are they going to possibly get out of this situation? How are they going to learn? What is if they don't do it? All we're doing is just answering a series of questions, 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 questions. And then I started thinking about other things as well. So I'm looking at presenters. What makes a good interview? Now, I've worked in radio, so and a part of my job was interviewing, in this case, music. And when I was working at the BBC, because for a year and a half, I was working on all of the R&B shows. So this is, well, the first year I was working on daytime radio, so we didn't get to interview people that much. Then when I went on to specialist shows, when I started doing all the R&B shows, we started interviewing R&B acts all over the world. And then I was watching the DJs, and then because what I'm producing, you've got to kind of work out what questions would be good, or you let the DJs have it, but you're making the show while you're going along. And then my last year and a half, I was working on the hip hop show, so I'm interviewing or being in interviews with up and coming artists at the time. Some of them became global stars now, and also global stars at the time. And I'm just watching interviews, and I'm thinking, what makes this a good interview? And then when I went to MySpace, and then I had access to pretty much everybody, and people would want to interview with us at MySpace or with me at MySpace because I was doing the interviews. I would be thinking, what makes a good interview? And it would always go back to the questions that you have to ask. Therapists as well. They just ask you questions. They don't really give you answers. I don't think they're allowed to give you answers, really. They just need to ask you questions. Consultants, coaches, police detectives. It all goes down to the question. And then someone said to me, and I know he didn't create this because he was saying it, quoting someone else, but he didn't know who it came from. And he goes, if you want to control a conversation, ask better questions. And I even heard, and I believe it was Tony Robbins say something like, if you want a better life, ask better questions. So with that in mind, I stopped using ChatGPT for asking questions. Sorry, ask it, coming up with answers, and flipped it around. And I said, rather than give me black belt level answers, I want black belt level questions because those questions I can now go away and answer as if somebody who's the best interviewer in the world can ask me the questions that I have not thought about before and can then go away and answer. It changed everything for me. Now, when it comes to ChatGPT, I really, one of the first things I try to do now is what is the questions it can ask me? Obviously, I give it a bit more context, etc. But now I'm all about the questions. And then once it's got the questions, it goes back to humanizing AI. Because now I'm not relying on it for answers. I'm just relying on it to ask me questions. Just like if you're going to do a podcast, let's say if it's a talking podcast and I was producing the show, and let's say if it's an hour show, or even a show like this, someone was to do it. What I would say is if you're going to do it by yourself, imagine someone's asking you questions and then you're just answering the questions. That's essentially what it is. Sometimes the reason I have slides, I don't actually need the slides. Obviously, I do it for people, for the end user to consume. But what the slide also does to me is humanizing AI. Question, what do you have to say on this? And because I just see it, I can just talk about it. So the question becomes really, really important. So Miriam says, so instead of saying, tell me how to start a business, I say, ask me 10 questions that will help me figure out what kind of business I should start. Exactly. You don't even have to say 10 questions. I'm going to get into ChatGPT and kind of show you in a minute. In fact, if you look here, you can say something like, here's what I want. Ask me 5 black belt level questions that will help me get the best answer to my problem, I should say, and then insert problem. Think of a problem you're trying to solve. Put in the prompt and then answer the question. So let's go to ChatGPT. If I use the question, what I said earlier, so going back to the questions, what steps are missing and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to flip this on its head. I'm going to say, oh, uh, no, that was not the one. Oh, sorry, it was this one. So where that's the question it will come up with. So let's say my conversation dropped 2%. What are the top 3 low cost fixes I can test first? So if I just posted that, it's just going to come up with improve improve message clarity on the page. Like this is strengthen the primary call to action. This is generic stuff that you would get. Now, if I put the same thing and I said, obviously, what are the top 3 low cost fixes I can test first? What I can say is, I'll make this a statement. I need um, top. I'm not going to put a number here. Just put I need top low cost fixes I can test first. And this is when we can then say, I need you to be a black belt when it comes to asking the right questions. I want you to come up with the most important questions you can think of that will help me come up with an answer to my problem. So now, questions it will say, has anything changed in what your traffic in where your traffic is coming from this quarter. Don't know why it's not got the question marks. So that's a question. Are you seeing a rise in low intent visitors from new channels? Has the ratio of paid to organic traffic shifted in a significant way? Are returning visitors converting less than before? Is there a specific set? All these questions is getting into the detail. All I have to do now is literally switch on this button and speak. So I can say, has anything changed in where your traffic is coming from this quarter? Yes. I stopped posting on YouTube. Are you seeing a rise in low intent visitors from new channels? Yes, I'm seeing a lot of people that are tire kickers. They're not actually converting. Has the ratio of paid to organic traffic shifted in a significant way? I've noticed that more people are coming from paid and less organic, but I also noticed that my organic reach has dropped on social media. Are returning visitors converting less than before? Yes, they're converting less than before. I don't know why. Is there a specific segment that shows a sharper decline than average? No. Now, obviously, I can then go and answer all of the other questions because you can see it's got a lot of questions. But if I just done this, what's the hell? What is this? This transcript contains reference to. Why has it done that? I have no idea what happened here. This transcript contains reference to ChatGPT, OpenAI, DALL-E 3. This, I have no idea what happened there. That's weird. Usually I just press it. I don't know. Maybe I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's doing that. I'll use my trusted whisper and do it that way. Did any price changes occur during the quarter? Yes, it was Black Friday, so I dropped my prices. Were there external events that could reduce buying intent in your sector? Yes, Black Friday. Did your competitors launch stronger offers during this period? Everybody was doing Black Friday deals, and now a couple of people are doing Christmas deals. Is this quarter usually weaker due to seasonality? Yes. Did your internal team change anything without documentation? No, it's just me and I didn't make any changes. So what you would do is you would just do that throughout your all of the questions that it asks you. Now, that might be too many questions. You might get bored halfway through, or you're like, oh, this is too much. You can always limit. It's up to you how many questions you have. I like to keep it open-ended purely because it's going to give me enough information. It's going to work out enough questions that it needs. And then once I put that in, obviously I've missed out a whole bunch of questions here. And it's just kind of giving you an answer, what your answers reveal. And it's just kind of going here. Now from here, once it gives me the answer, which is great because that's what I want eventually anyway, I can then do whatever I want from it. Now it's just talking about the other questions because I didn't answer them here. But questions, I've noticed it completely changed the game for me. In fact, I've even got a couple of chats that is just trained on questions, and I'm going to build a GPT actually just for questions as well. So everything I put in there, it will just come up with black belt level questions. Does this all make sense so far? If it does, press 7. If not, press 8. Just want to make sure it all makes sense so far. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Give this a go. Try it. 6 or 7. So not 100% Lawrence? Or are you saying 6, 7 because that's what the kids are saying at the moment? Yeah. You know what? I actually thought that. Luckily, I got it at the end. Good job I caught that at the end. I'm still down with the kids. I'm still holding on to youth. Um, so give this a try. As I said, I've been playing around with this. I've not really told anyone, and from today, pretty much, I've started telling people. I don't. I've not really heard anyone talk about this either. I've heard people talk about different ways to prompt and prompt engineering and stuff, but not so much about using it to come up with better questions. And then from you, once you've got those questions for you to answer. Usually, as I said, I pressed this here. I don't know why it didn't work on this for some reason. I'm not sure why. But You can do this on all of the platforms as well. Like this is not a chat GPT thing. This is a like across all large language models. What does 6-7 mean? You can ask ChatGPT. Actually, 6-7 means it doesn't mean anything. There's a rapper called Skrillex, and he made a reference to 6-7 on a song, and that was it. And everyone just kind of that's the joke. It doesn't mean anything. So it makes people like, what does that mean? And that's what essentially it is. And now people just try to do other things as well. 5 by 5. All right. So it all makes sense, which is great. And what I want you guys to do is I want you really to go away and start start playing around with questions. If you've trained your model, train a chat and just on questions. Go back to old things that you've done before. Remember, a film writer, that's what they do. It's just a series of questions. A therapist, questions. Uh, presenters, questions. Watch interviews. Watch how good like presenters, Parkinson back in the day, Larry King, like he was a master at that. Even people that you might not like Piers Morgan, he's very good at actually asking the right questions and knowing when to ask a hard-hitting question versus a softer one. Oprah, Stephen Bartlett, love him or hate him, I actually think he does very good interviews. I do think he's very good at interviews. Joe Rogan as well. He's more of a casual. It looks like he's just having fun, but he's also asking a lot of like really important questions. As I said, if you want to control a conversation, whether you're having a conversation with a human or a robot, all goes down to questions. So has anyone got any questions from what I've just said? Howard Stern is another one, Glenn. Yeah, Howard Stern. He's great. And by the way, Glenn and Eric, Chris had the baby 5 hours ago. So I just found out. So Chris had his baby. So if you anybody here who watches the other show that we usually do with Chris, myself and Chris, the AI live one, Chris has yeah, he's just had the baby 5 hours ago. Yeah, we'll do. I will send you love. The name of the baby is a girl. I'm just getting it here. Uh Lyra Branch was born on the 3rd of December. They went to ChatGPT. I should have said to him, oh, make sure you ask the right questions so you can come up with the right name for the baby. Has anyone got any questions about what I've said about questions? Anyone got any questions or any thoughts? Any way that you might say, you know what, that's great, but have you thought about this? Or this is a way that we can improve it. Because as I said, this is obviously the whole point of what I want to do with these sessions is obviously teach you the information that I know. And that's just where I've researched what I've tried, people I know, but also because I've trained a lot of people, and even in just AI, probably close to 4 to 5,000 people already. It's like a big research project. And I'm always hearing challenges from this person, or how do I do that, or what they've had success. So all of that information I'm trying and try and help you guys. But because this is a community, you guys can teach me as well, or you guys can teach each other as well. So if there's anything that you can think of when it comes to the questions, what can we add to it? Or if there's anything that you can think you can add to it as well.
Andrew, how important is it to say, ask me black belt questions versus just ask me questions? Like, how important is it to feed it that extra information? Do you find that there's a difference?
Um, I've not tried to not, I've always used black belt. Really, what I'm saying is just when people say, for example, I want you to have 25 years experience working in marketing, or you just give it a bit of context. So when I say black belt, really what I'm saying, I could also say you've got 25 years experience in being a presenter and asking questions, or a therapist and asking questions. I just say black belt just because I'm into martial arts.
Gotcha. So it is important to sort of preface it with that.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Now, you can not do it and see, and then do it with it and see, just to see if there is a difference in the quality of question. I always just like kind of qualify it with that. So Shell said, when you say about controlling the conversation, is that what you have to do? As sometimes with Gemini, they ask me questions if I want something else next. While it may take me down the rabbit hole, sometimes it's really, yeah, yeah. Obviously, they can obviously Gemini, ChatGPT, they all give you questions. Hey, maybe I can do this for you, that for you. Really, when I talk about questions, it's a case of saying you want to forget ChatGPT for a minute. If we were having a conversation, Shell, and we were just talking about whatever it may be. And at the end of it, I said, so what are you up to tomorrow? You're going to say, well, tomorrow that's me controlling the conversation. So that's what questions do. Because most people, if someone says, if I'm having a conversation with you and you said to me, Andrew, quick question, what are you doing tomorrow afternoon? I'm not going to say, I haven't got time for that. Bye. That's just rude. I'm going to answer the question, even though I might be in a rush or I've got other things to do, which means you're controlling that conversation. So that's what I mean by that. And you can do it for the large language models because they will say, what about this? What about that? Then you can just ignore that and just say, go back into your question and it will always answer.
Could I ask a
And they,
question?
yes.
Have you ever thought of using, or have you used questions which may evoke or elicit emotions? For example, like what would it, for example, what would it, what could you tell me that would make you feel better?
Um, so that there's the first part. So that's me asking a question.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done that all the time. Like not so much things like what will make me feel better or anything like that, but that's what I always used to do for years. I would always ask it questions. But what I've realized is if I wanted to know what can you do to make me feel better,
No, not to make me feel better, but you're putting the emotion on the AI. What would what would make you feel better?
sorry, you've lost me. You've lost me a bit. Sorry.
Okay, I'm just thinking about, when you talked about the good have doing a good interview.
Yeah.
When you're interviewing somebody,
Mhm.
obviously you ask a series of questions and you hopefully you get the person to speak about whatever it is you want them to speak about.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can ask a question which can put that person into a memory or an emotion which might
Okay.
give you see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't worry about that purely because it's just me and the robot. So
Okay.
the robot won't have emotion. Now the robot might ask me a question that will get me there, but I'm just having a conversation with a robot, and it's up to me whether I answer it or not.
Okay.
So when it comes to that, sometimes I've never really said, "Can you come up with like questions that sparks a particular type of emotion," or I'm prepared to feel a particular type of way. But if I would wanted to, then I think that's a really good point, Ben. I think I might say, I give me questions that are very I won't say I'm trying to think of a particular emotion. Ask me questions. Let's say, for example, I wanted to lose weight. I might say, don't ask me questions, but don't be nice. Tell me how it is. Be realistic. This is and I've gone on to like one of those scales and I said, right, I've got this much visceral fat that I need to lose and blah, blah, blah. Tell me. But I'm someone that I don't mind hearing that. So I don't mind hearing like the like brutal truth about certain things, whether it's to do with physical things, whether it's to do with emotional things. Like I don't really mind that. So I might actually say, ask it questions and have that emotion. So that's a really good point there. Again, ultimately, I just care as long as you get the result. And I think ChatGPT or any large language model can help you do that. So thanks for that, Ben. And everyone, again, try that when it comes to that. If you want to get that emotion, I created, I think I told you this last time, or did I? There's a character in my favorite. So my favorite film is The Usual Suspects. My favorite TV show of all time is Entourage. Don't know if anyone ever watched Entourage with Vinny Chase and Ari Gold, but The character Ari Gold, he's an agent. He's an agent for actors, and he is very brutal. So I created an agent that my Monday mornings, Ari Gold. Imagine Ari Gold is my boss. So I will say, this is my goals for the week. You're Ari Gold. How would you respond to me? So he's responding back like Ari would in the TV show. Brutal, harsh. But I like that. I don't get offended by it. Sometimes I do, but I don't. I don't try not to like let it stop me. But that's my personality. I would rather hear something harsh. Now, my girlfriend, she likes the softy, softy approach. So it really depends on you you know yourself. That's at the end of the day, you know yourself. So do it based on what will make you take action. Softy, softy doesn't make me take action, but the tough approach doesn't make her take action. So this is about knowing yourself. Great, great question.
Hey, Andrew, I have a
Yeah.
question. Um, do you find when you tell chat to take its time that you get better answers? Or since chat has various models, do you leave it up to your question for it to decide which model to use that's most efficient to answer your question? And the other part of my question, something you started off at the beginning, was last year you were nicey nicey, and now, sometimes you get quite angry. Uh, do you find that your responses from chat are different, whether you're nice or whether you curse at it? So kind of like a
Oh,
three-part question there.
okay, so to answer the third question first, it doesn't make a difference. If I'm nasty, it's usually because it's giving me a wrong answer. Like I won't just be like, oi, and then start calling it names and asking. Like it's usually giving me a wrong answer. I know it's wrong, or I've tried multiple times, and that's when I'm starting to get angry and annoyed. So I'm trying to practice patience and Zen. That's kind of like my new thing. Now, it doesn't make a difference. What ChatGPT does is it will just say something like, "Oh, I'm sorry that you feel this way. I know it can be frustrated," and then it just goes into an answer where if I would have just said something nice, it would have just given me the same answer, I believe. So I don't think it makes that much of a difference, to be honest. Um, the second question, what was the first and second question again?
The first question was take as much time as you need to answer the question, that maybe you would get a better answer if it wasn't required to answer so quickly. And the other
Okay, yeah.
part, of the question was, since it has various models, 5.1, sometimes you can either direct it of what model to use to answer your question, or sometimes you just leave it up to chat to pick its own model to answer your question correctly.
So I just tend, when it comes to chat, just to leave it up to the model. I think once it went from the fours to the fives, it's pretty good at selecting the right model. Where when it was on fours, you might say for more creative writing, I'm going to use 4.5. For more analytical stuff, I might use 4.0. Now it pretty much it's pretty good at selecting the right model. Also, when you ask it to research more or spend a bit more time, uh, generally, it does. But what I've worked out, what gives you a better answer is the prompt. So if I give it like a basic prompt and I say spend more time or it's thinking about more time, I don't notice that much of a difference than if I actually went and done a bit more detail in the prompt and then it gives me an answer. Again, this is something that everyone might find different. Some of you might find actually once it waits a bit longer, it gives me a better answer as well. Um, I've just not noticed that much difference in recent, pretty much since five has come out, actually. Since five has come out, I've not really noticed that much difference in waiting or thinking longer. But what I wouldn't do, because sometimes you might ask it something and then it says thinking, or it's taking a bit more time to think, and it gives you the option to skip this. Don't skip it. Don't skip it. Just let it think because it actually is going away thinking naturally. It's becoming more like a human. Sometimes you can ask somebody a question and they know the answer like that. And then sometimes you can ask them a question and they say, let me think about this. And that's pretty much what I kind of I find. So hopefully that kind of answers your
Yep,
question.
great. Thank you.
Yep, cool. Some questions in the chat. Uh,
More talking.
where is it? So I was just trying to see what ones are there. Did you think that Okay, yeah, Eric, did you think the talking dice? Okay, yeah. Um, Claire, when you say about controlling the conversation, is that what you have to do as some? Oh, okay, we've answered that. Anita, yes, when I say thank you and please, ChatGPT offers suggestions afterwards. If I don't, it stops offering suggestions. Oh, is it? I've noticed. I didn't. I might pay attention to that. That's actually quite interesting, Anita. Shell. Okay, yeah, I get where you're coming from. I can't remember what I said for that. Tanya. Hey,
That
Tanya.
was about the previous question. That was about the control in the conversation.
Ah, okay, cool, cool. Tanya, I just really like how you have challenged my thinking about what's possible with large language model. Last time in the last session, you said that our only limitation is our imagination. Yes, and I've been thinking about that a lot. P.S. I've also been working on a prompt for a new app. Would love to hear what prompt that is. I've always said the fundamentals of AI: prompt, imagination, and then the tool. The only thing that's holding you back is your imagination. You've got, and I think I've mentioned this before, you've got weapons that are 2050 and the rest of the world is still using bows and arrows. You've got like so advanced stuff that everyone else is oblivious to right now. In the golden era, you have. But another thing that will take us at the golden era is where everyone is caught up. And if you've ever done an AI training session with me, you will always notice that one of the first questions I ask is, how often do you use it? And it's usually never, occasionally, once a week, all the time. And I've noticed it's gone from never to occasionally. More and more people are all the time and once a week at least. Paul, as a designer, I've improved briefs from clients by asking ChatGPT what questions. Yes, there you go, Paul. So Paul's been doing this already. It is so powerful. In fact, this concept is not new. As I said, I've heard Tony Robbins years ago would said, if you want a better life, ask better questions. It's always been about questions. It's just that now I've got somebody to ask questions that will give me, well, I can get that person to ask me better questions, where before you'd have to pay a lot of money to very high charging consultants or therapists, etc. Great show. Is that Entourage, Miriam? Shell, Gemini is now coaching me with my new diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. I know quite a few people that's had that, and yeah, obviously you can use it. You can. I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to give any medical advice, but again, you can always use it to ask different questions, help. But something like that, this is a good way to get it to ask the questions that you need. What are the questions? Because then those questions you could give to a doctor, or those questions you can find out more information from. Kimmy, I've trained my guy not to sugarcoat anything. I love that. So again, I hope you stick to that as well, Kimmy, though, because I've done that before with past with exes. Andrew, don't sugarcoat it. Are you sure? Yes, don't sugarcoat it. All right, blah blah blah. It's over. So, well, okay. I should. Yeah. You said that it was fine. Liz, I remember in training session early in the year, Andrew said we have to be polite in case the robots turn on us. Yes, that is something I used to say. I always say please, just in case you never know when the robots are gonna be like, you were nice to me. But now I don't know. I've lost my patience with them. Especially when they keep on getting things wrong. Five seems smarter than ever. So I'm talking about ChatGPT 5. Definitely, Glenn. Definitely see that. Can you help chat? Can you help chat to have an imagination? This is where I go back to this, literally this slide here, humanizing AI. I'm going to do a session, one of these, on imagination and creativity. I've learned a lot, especially from our BBC days, and that still applies now. And when I do full day training, usually there is a section on this. So I will try and work out how I can do that in an hour. And I'll do a whole session on that. So how you can think. But this actually, I'll probably add this as part of it. Because sometimes your imagination is like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to think about. And then it's somebody asks you a question. All it is sometimes a question. And it goes, okay, I never saw it like that. Maybe. And then, so the question is a good part to really get your imagination going. Kimmy, I feel like everyone else is using AI now. I've been using it every day for 3 years. Yeah, as I said, more and more people are using it. But what we're finding is by the end of this next year, everyone will be, everyone. So that superpower that you once had is gone unless you continue using it and going up the belt system. Just like if you've been doing martial arts for 10 years versus someone who's been doing it for one. So that's look at it from that point of view. Shell, I've only been using it about 3 months. Michelle, you're still in the golden era. You're still like if this was this time, if this was December 2027 or 2026, my answer will be different than what it is December 2025. If you're using it December 2024, even better.
Andrew, what do you think is going to happen like in another couple of years aside from the advertising? Like, what do you foresee being like the major drawbacks that are coming? Regulation, things like that.
All right. Um, the reason I'm pausing is because I've got a couple of slides that basically answers this, but because this is being recorded live, I don't want to go into the deck of the company that it's for.
Gotcha.
So I will answer this off the top of my head. My most popular training session and talk I do is the good, the bad, the ugly of AI. The good, things like this, what I try and keep it quite upbeat. The bad is internal challenges that we'll face on a day-to-day basis connected to do with our jobs. The ugly is what it will do to society. When it comes to some of the things where I think when we go out of the golden era, one of them will be advertising. Right now, if I go to ChatGPT, I'm just getting answers. There is no, okay, because you mentioned, what was I even talking about? My conversation dropped. There's no analytics tool here that's talking about improving my conversion rate. There's no another ad that's talking about sending me on courses to do this. Because once I see money is involved, then I'm going to question the organic search as well, just because I know how SEO works. So right now, there's none of that. So that for me is once the ads will come, and it's coming because these things cost a lot of money to run, and the subscription model is not enough. Ask Netflix, the subscription model, we're never going to do ads. Now, ads are on my Netflix. So you're going to have ads on this. So that's going to be one of the things that I think is going to make things worse. Regulation. It can't continue like this. These companies are just getting away with anything. It's going to have to some form of regulation. The question is who's going to regulate it? And that for me is my biggest worry. Do you want your government to do it? Who's in America right now? Do you want the American government to do it? Do you want the British government to do it? Whether it's Labour now, whether it's going to be, looks like Reform will get in or Conservatives. I don't want any of those three to do it. So then you're left to what, corporations? So that's the other thing. That's where, but it will happen. I know this. I sat on the board for Ofcom for 4 years. So I don't often tell people this, but I sat on the board for Ofcom for 4 years in the UK. Now, if you're from the UK, Ofcom is like the police. If you do anything on TV, if Ofcom, it will go to Ofcom. It doesn't go to the police, it goes to Ofcom, radio as well. And so I've worked in situations where I understand regulations and legislations, etc. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen, and that's going to be another change. I think these are two that's going to change everything. Another thing, this is why I talk about the ugly. And by the way, I'm not going to go into the environmental impact. That's a whole session day in itself. There's a lot of greed that's happening. The tech billionaires, the greed, the things that you see in the movies where you've got the tech billionaire, ha ha ha, destroying the world, but they're making money. This is becoming real now. What we're doing is we're seeing these companies go from, well, have the attitude of let's ask for forgiveness rather than permission. Let's just do whatever we want to do. And if people want to sue us, we can get them out of court for long enough that when it's time to pay up, we would have made our money anyway. In fact, they're starting to do it slightly now. It happened with a whole bunch of authors or musicians. I think it was authors. They actually won $1 billion collectively from Claude. But Claude, because they basically trained on their material, Claude made like 14 billion off of it. So they're like, yeah, I'll happily give you that. Now we're still in the race. So they're not going to sit down and ask permission. So that's just three things. I can do a whole 6 months every other week meeting this, just talking about the bad and the ugly. And if you listen to the podcast, I'm actually going to do some moving forward as well. I try not to do too many just because I want to keep it upbeat, but I also am a realistic person. I want people to be aware of it because the internal stuff of things that we need to be aware of. Is our job safe? Things like that. And then the ugly is obviously society things as well. Deep fakes, misinformation, and things like that.
Thank you.
Cool. Oh, Kimmy, your guy is ChatGPT. Sorry. But yeah, train it, train it. Don't be PC. Get it to do anything you want. Anita, can you do a session on content creation, lip sync? Yeah, I can do all of that, Anita, not a problem. But if you really want to see the best video lip sync stuff, check out Thursday's session that I do with Chris, the one who had the baby. I don't know if you've been to it before, but that's the one where you're going to see the best videos from the best people globally. That, like, there's a few people on this call who do come to it. Like, you're going to see the top guys there, and yeah, that will be the one to watch. Unfortunately, it's not tomorrow because Chris went and had a baby and he's got his priorities like all over the place at the moment. But we'll be back in the new year. It's every Thursday, 4 p.m. UK time. Liz B, hate to be negative, but do you have any thoughts on environmental impact of everyone using AI? Liz, as I said, that's a whole nother question. I actually, was it this week or last week? Last week, I'd done a seminar or webinar for it was about climate change. There was about a good couple of hundred people on this on it, and I'm talking about AI tools. So I have to address this immediately. But the whole it was by the National History Consortium, I think it was. No, the National Trust Consortium and or the National History Consortium. But there was some really good talks on climate change there. So, I'll find out if it's available free for everyone. And if it is, if you're part of my WhatsApp group, I'll be sharing the link because there was a couple of really good talks for people who know way more about it than I do. But generally speaking, most of the issue is not what we do on ChatGPT, it's the supply chain. That's where a lot of the environmental issue is. Just like um like things that again I don't know like a lot of the technical terms, but when it comes to food and its impact on the environment, a lot of it is not that I've just had a hamburger, it's how that all happened, how it got to my plate. That's the issue. Right, I'm gonna ask a couple more questions, and then I'm going to have to put my son to bed, but more importantly, watch the football. Even an independent body could be, yeah, a problem. A non-profit corporation to regulate, maybe, possibly, Anita. But again, it's how much experience do they know? Do they have? And a lot of the big non-profits, how compromised are they? And what I mean by that, it's they're gonna have partners with a lot of the big like corporations. So there's always a conflict there. So that's the problem. Oh, good, Anita. You're always watching Thursdays. Where do you get details about Thursday session? So Thursday session is not going to happen until next week. Not next week, next year now. But if you want to stay up to date with everything, this here, I think this takes you to the WhatsApp group. Let me just double check. I think this takes you to the WhatsApp group. Yeah, this is the WhatsApp group. If you're not part of the WhatsApp group, it takes you to the WhatsApp group, and I'll be letting people know about the Thursday session there. There's actually a whole group inside called AI Live because that's what it's called. And then we have conversations in there as well. But the WhatsApp group, if you don't know, it's just every day I post what's going on in the world of AI. So if you want to stay up to date with everything, I usually post 3 or 4 news stories as well. And also, if you haven't listened to my podcast, the In a Nutshell podcast, every day, I've 500 and something episodes in now. Um, I'm I'm thinking whether or not to not stop the whole thing, but stop for over Christmas. Uh, not next week, the week after. But part of me is just like, you know what? I'll stop on Christmas and Boxing Day. The rest of the time, I'll just continue. I'll just continue because it's so much information, to be honest. There's so much information. Let's say I've got about 530 episodes. I've never struggled to come up with what to do.
Hey, Andrew, I just have one other question,
Yep.
a thought for a future episode. Every day there's another course being offered, there's another academy out there. There's like more and more courses out there to learn various aspects of AI. It's like, where do you turn? What's the best value? Would you think of doing a session all about that aspect of what's out there now?
Yeah. It's the problem when you work for a service, when you're offering a service, is that you don't know how good it is until you do it. So when it comes to these workshops, I could quite easily say, oh, this is rubbish and that's rubbish, but I've not really done it. And also, I'm not really the target audience because they're my competitors. My attitude when it comes to finding a coach is this: spend 80% of your time finding the right coach and 20% of your time knowing enough about the subject to know that is the right coach. So hopefully that makes sense. If I wanted to learn about, I don't know, how to improve my cardio, I will know just only 20% about improving cardio. So when I'm looking for the coach, going back to the subject of today's episode, I know to ask the right questions. With Kung Fu, I do Kung Fu. I've been doing it since 2002. I found my Sifu, and as soon as I found him, within one session, I said, "You're gonna have me as a student." And it is now going into 2026, and I'm still every single week I see him. And we're not even in the same country, but I have Zoom sessions with him. I found the right person. I don't need someone else. So when it comes to this, a lot of the trainers as well, a lot of it goes down to their personality and does it match with you? I know a lot of people that are very knowledgeable about certain subjects. They are an expert. They've got a doctor's like before their first name. It says DR, but they're boring or they're just not. There's something about them. It's finding that, and then once you know that person, once you know enough about the subject to know that they are the right person, just give it 90 days with them and then see. Because what will happen is you'll just jump from one to this person to that person, and everyone will be contradicting themselves. Even things that I've said, people might contradict that. But it's up to you to say, actually, the imagination does make sense, or the prompting and the black belt level prompting does make sense, or doesn't make sense to me. Let me find someone else. So that's what I would say. Hopefully that kind of answers your question.
Great, thank you.
Cool. So,
Going back to my earlier one, Andrew,
yeah.
is there a reason that you use ChatGPT? Because you always seem to favor
Sure.
that.
The reason I use ChatGPT is just because it's the one I started off with. So I
Right.
started using it in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2022 I started using it. In fact, my first AI tool wasn't actually ChatGPT, it was Midjourney. And in fact, it was Chris who told me about it. It's like,
Yeah.
look, there's this tool that you can type something in and it creates an image. And I was like, whatever. And I've done it. I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. And that was before ChatGPT was even out. So that's when we got into it. Um, that's the main reason I use it. And because I've used it, I've invested in it. And because I
Yeah.
know whether I use Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, that they're all for the level that I need, they're all as good as each other.
Right.
You
That's
know,
great.
then you start getting, if you're a developer, then it's slightly different. Or if you're a film producer, then you're like, okay, I need to use a better tool or whatever it may be. But
I'm
generally
still a
speaking,
yellow belt. I
yeah,
haven't I
yellow
haven't
belt's
advanced
still
yet.
good. Yeah, yeah. That's still good. So that's why I use ChatGPT. And also, if I get stuck, there's always a YouTube video of someone kind of breaking down. It's easy to kind of find things as well. I don't actually use ChatGPT anymore for tutorials or how to. I actually just go
Right.
to YouTube. YouTube's the best one.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Next. Are you recording from previous Wednesday session available to view? Right, all my I said this right at the beginning. All my sessions are actually on my YouTube channel. So you get a copy of it a couple of hours after the session. There'll be an email. At the moment they're all unlisted. But what I might do is I might make them available for everybody. But you will get a copy afterwards as well. Um, you had a December where you had a list of all your AI tools you recommend. Where can I find that, please? So all the tools I recommend, that is uh, uh here. That's here. This is what I call the AI tool starter kit. So this is a document that I keep up to date. So is in Google Sheets and it will have tabs. So it will say images, videos, large language models, and these are kind of like the main ones. Before, I would always go for a list of 600, 800, but people are not going to go through all of that. You just want what are the main ones to focus on. And I think in 2026, rather than have 50 tools, have 10 and go deep with them. That's what I would recommend rather than just going from this tool to that tool to that tool to that tool. Uh, Cool. Thanks, everyone. You know, I'm gonna have to go because he's been in front of the TV for so long. I don't know if my girlfriend's watching this, but if she is, she probably will be like, "Why has he been in front of the TV for so long?" And I'm missing Arsenal. So, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Another great session or great feedback, I should say. I really hope you found today useful. Remember, practice questions. If you want to get hold of me, make sure I'm on LinkedIn. Make sure you follow me on LinkedIn. That's the best place to reach me. Feel free, Andrew M. Davis, or go to my website, Andrew Miles Davis. That's Davis. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Don't follow me, connect with me. Feel free to ask questions then. Check out the podcast. Tomorrow one is going to be on. I don't know what it is tomorrow. I've recorded it already, but I can't remember what it is. But it will be a good one. And uh, yeah, I'll see you guys 2 weeks, 2 weeks time. Tell as many people as you know. I'm on a mission 2026 to train as many people as I can. Thanks a lot, everyone. Good night. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Appreciate it.